Welcome to the first ever edition of Metal Marmite. Well, we'll be talking about heavy metal through the years.
Yeah.
Me and myself. I am Tom Bridger, and you are...
I'm Richard, have no surname.
You do have a surname?
I do, yeah, but I don't
you just go to people to know you.
I don't want people to know me.
You don't say your name on the people?
I don't say my full name, no.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Right, I'll tell you my full name because I trust you as an audience.
That's fine, but I'm elsewhere online everywhere, so I've got to keep myself mysterious.
Fair enough.
And hidden.
Anyway, welcome to the Metal Marmite. Now, why is this show called Metal Marmite, Richard? What do you think?
I'm assuming because metal is one of those things that you either love it or you hate it, right?
Yep, that's one reason. Yep, that's the first reason. Yep.
It sounds cool. It's a good rhyming scheme.
Yeah, it's a good rhyme. I like Marmite, so, and I also like heavy metal, so. But yeah, it is one of those things where people either love it or hate it. They love it because it's loud, the theatrics and drama of it all, and the themes, and they hate it because it's loud and the people scream.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of people
and the imagery.
I mean, if you talk about people like Slipknot and things like that, I'd imagine, yeah. But I think also that kind of style of singing, the stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are turned off by the deep guttural growls, aren't they?
I think a lot of the imagery, and I never really realised this until a few years ago, but I think a lot of the imagery is just to let people know what they're in for, more than anything else. If you see a cover of Christina Aguilera's album, it's just her on the front cover looking nice and pretty. You think, oh, it's going to be a nice pop album. You don't think it's going to be you know what you're getting. And it's the same with metal. You get a band that, wearing costumes or wearing makeup, and the band logo is unreadable. You know what you're going to get. Why is it called Metal Marmite for a second reason? Well, because metal fans are rather elitist. And a lot of them like some sorts of metal, and a lot of them like other sorts of metal.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so a lot of metal fans will like particular types of metal, like more heavier styles, and like poo-poo, the ones that are less heavy or less technical or whatever else.
That's strange, because you would have thought it's not really a big enough genre to have people who would be very elitist about it. Mainly because it's not like totally in the public zeitgeist, is it? No. So it's a situation where you would have thought that they'll be at a place where they would want to stick together, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of camaraderie between metal fans, but especially online, I think you'll find a lot of people who are like, these bands are weird or whatever else. Or, in terms of, as we'll get into a little bit, younger fans thinking bands are too old or whatever else. So, first of all, a brief history of how I got into heavy metal, which is like almost 20 years ago now. So 2000, 2001, I would have been 15, 16 years old. And I got into metal mainly due to a genre which is quite derided amongst hardcore metal fans, which is nu metal.
Right, yeah.
Which if you don't know nu metal, is basically metal music with rapping and DJ.
Yeah, like the Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park.
That's it, yeah. Those kind of bands were coming out at the time. Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Papa Roach, they all had big hits in the UK, all had top 10 hit singles. So that was a very popular style of metal music at the time. You also had Slipknot, Deftones, System of a Down, Cold Chamber, bands like that, who like metal elitists didn't like very much. Didn't like the rapping, didn't like the DJ stuff, And it's kind of derided now still. And I totally get it. If you were born into 80s and 70s metal, that you wouldn't like this style.
I think it was definitely a product of its era, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And, it was pretty massive, and probably the last time metal's been mainstream.
I would, probably agree with that. I would say that it kind of it helped because you had a lot of hip hop and rap coming out at that time as well, so it helped kind of bridge some gaps as well. Like I remember there was some Limp Bizkit songs with Eminem.
Korn did a song with Ice Cube. So there was a lot of crossover. I mean, Snoop Dogg and Dre were both in, and Eminem were both all in a Limp Bizkit video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there was a lot of was it Snoop Dogg that toured with Korn? I can't remember.
Wouldn't surprise me.
There's a lot of crossover at that point. And it's the hip hop element is interesting because I think fans that would have got into, like, say, Linkin Park at that time, they would have either gone, I like the rapping.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go and listen to the rap music. They would have gone, or you've got the ones that have thought, this is pretty heavy, but I kind of don't like the rap. I like to find more heavier types of metal, and that's kind of what you're into. And a lot of bands like Papa Roach and Bizkit and all those were just gateway bands for a lot of people. Slayer, Metallica.
Talking about them like they're drugs.
basically gateway bands, like get into Slayer, Metallica, Emperor, heavier styles of metal, whatever else, you know. So from there we move on to Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember around 2000, 2001, Kerrang TV came out on Sky TV. This is new and cool and exciting, all these bands. And then you see like bands like Def Leppard, and look a bit old. And in hindsight, they weren't that old. They looked old, like from another era. Technically, their songs are like 10 years old at this point. So any band like Def Leppard or Guns N' Roses looked just old, and they were instant challenge changers for me because they weren't new, hip, young, exciting. They were old, crusty. So when you first started getting into metal, my dad was like, you should hear this band called Black Sabbath. I've got like vinyl. Obviously, dry your eyes. Vinyl, that's a bit old, isn't it? And now look at vinyl now. It's fading, in popularity. Back then, vinyl was seen as an old thing. So he played me some Black Sabbath on vinyl, and I thought it was interesting. I got into the greatest hits album. And what was your history with Black Sabbath prior to this element?
Well, I mean, you're going back a little bit now. My initial introduction to Black Sabbath, I say in quoted commas, is Meet the Osbournes, obviously. I didn't even know Ozzy Osbourne existed before that point. I
don't think I knew him for that much sooner before that.
But I mean,
I don't know when the Osbournes started.
The
Osbournes, yeah. I don't know when the Osbournes started, but I don't think I knew him.
It must have been like early to mid 2000s.
It was early 2000s.
Yeah.
So we'll get into one of the songs later on.
But
talk about.
So that was obviously my first introduction, and I had no idea who this guy was, and then eventually I found out, he used to be like a really big rock star. He bit the head off a bat and everything, and I'm like, right. And then you hear more about that, and then you start seeing him in other TV shows, films like Little Nicky, I think, and then you start hearing some songs, and you don't realise that it's them, and you're like, I like this song. We'll get to it in more detail, I assume. But Iron Man, for instance, you hear that song and you're like, this is a really good song, and then you find out it's Black Sabbath. So my introduction is a little less niche and more mainstream, I would say. But yeah, we'll get a little bit more into detail later. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, that was pretty much my.
And how many songs have you heard?
Well, this kind of goes on to a bit of a discussion that we're going to talk about soon.
We can talk about that a bit later.
There would probably be 5 or 6, maybe, that I knew of. 4 that I probably really liked. And yeah, you're going to hate me because they're pretty much.
That's the point of this show. I wanted some argument. So.
They're pretty much most of the commercial. Sold out.
Okay. Brief history of Black Sabbath. We're going to move on to quickly. So they were formed in 1968, late 60s. So they started with Tony Iommi on guitar, bassist Terence Butler, or surname Geezer Butler, which just sounds a lot more.
Geezer Butler.
What
a name. Yeah. That's not a real name, surely.
Nickname.
Yeah, I was going to say, that can't be a real name.
But it sounds more cool than Terence, so I kind of get it. Drummer Bill Ward and the lead singer, I can't remember the name of him. Was he someone? Ozzy Osbourne? Yeah, that's the one. Ozzy Osbourne, you might have heard of him, maybe. They're widely considered the first heavy metal band ever. That's generally up for debate. And they were heavily influenced by a lot of the more harder rock of the late 60s, like Cream, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that.
I actually have something later on that I would like to talk on that front, but I'll save that.
Yeah, but I think they're widely considered one of the first heavy metal bands. We'll get on to one of the songs later on, which proves it, pretty much sets the template for what would come and the whole general genre of metal as a whole. So as I said, Tony Iommi is the only permanent member. The tips of his fingers were sawn off in a steel factory accident.
And what instrument did he play?
Guitar. So he had strings custom made for his fingers for the guitar, which a lot of people put down to the unique sound that he makes.
Okay, wow.
So there's that. I won't get into too much about the history of them right now. So the first album is the self-titled Black Sabbath, with a song called Black Sabbath on the album.
A lot of bands do that, though, to be fair, don't they? Self-title and things like that.
Bad Company, I can feel off the top of my head. Iron Maiden did it.
Not just like bands from that era, like loads of modern bands do it like that. I mean,
or a song after their band.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be. Oh wait, a song? Oh,
yeah, a song.
Oh, I don't know. No.
Yeah, the trifecta of band name,
album,
song, and song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's it.
There's probably more.
Probably more, but I can't think.
A lot of bands. If you know any other bands who had a song,
good question.
Their name.
Yeah.
Let me know. So, as things were back then, bands tended to release albums on quite a regular rate.
Mm-hmm. That's the way you made your money then.
That's the way you made money. I mean, until really the mid-60s, singles were the main thing and albums were just... but yeah, so just 4 months after the debut, out would come Paranoid. Led Zeppelin did the same thing in 1969. They released 2 albums. But so the first song on the album, it's not very subtle. It's War Pigs.
Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
So it's the first song on the album, and it lasts 7 minutes and 59 seconds. And not a very subtle way to bring you into the album. Got a nice air raid siren to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Song themes are not very subtle either. It's an anti-war protest song.
I'm assuming this is around the era of Vietnam, right?
That's right. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the album artwork.
I did, but I didn't note anything down.
So the album was supposed to be called War Pigs, not Paranoid.
Right. Okay.
And there's a picture of the guy on the front with the sword and behind the tree.
Right.
It's supposed to be a war pig.
Okay.
But the studio were adamant they didn't want the album to be named War Pigs.
Right.
They wouldn't want anything like anti-war. Yes, and they thought Paranoid would be less offensive as an album title than War Pigs. So what were your impressions on War Pigs?
I obviously know this song.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. I actually have it on like my playlist on Spotify and everything anyway. So this was one of the songs that I was already very aware of. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's a pretty decent song. It's not subtle, by the least, but yeah, it's not a bad song. I mean, as an introduction to an album, it's a bit strong, I would say, maybe a little bit too full on. But I guess you also want to get your message right up front, don't you? Especially if you say the album was supposed to be called War Pigs initially, they're gonna put that right up the top, aren't they? But I don't think it's a bad song. I quite like this song.
It's a good song, quite slow. Ozzy's vocal style on this song I like quite a lot. When they just do the da-da, and then he just starts speaking.
Yeah.
Like, no music.
Yeah.
Like that vocal style. What do you think of Ozzy as a vocalist?
Very unique voice, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got a very kind of like, in the throat kind of singing, hasn't he? So I think it goes quite well, especially with the style that you were saying, obviously, because if he's up front and center and all you can hear is his voice, it is very unique, and it does give a very good kind of flavour. So yeah, I actually quite like him as a vocalist. Obviously, nothing that we've listened to for this episode, but obviously, like more recent times, obviously his voice is very weak and poor now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, but he's got older. He's gone through a lot of drugs and alcohol issues and stuff, but. Now, not so much, but back then, yeah, I'd pick up on it.
52 years since this album was released. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, no, but I would, at this point in time, yeah, I think he's a pretty decent singer.
I'll move on quickly to the song that most people would know from Black Sabbath, the hit Paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a much shorter song, goes in at 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the song was only recorded just to fill the album. Have enough room on the tape.
Oh, wow.
They didn't have enough songs on the tape. They needed an extra minutes. So they wrote it in 5 minutes and was recorded within 2 hours.
That's odd, because literally my only comments I've written down are an absolute classic, a total banger.
Yep, I agree with that. I would say that I'm kind of tired of hearing it because I've heard it 10 million times, but I get your point.
Yeah, and
it's known as the Black Sabbath song.
Just strange that it's a filler,
It was a filler in terms of the album, just to fill the. But obviously it's gone on to become, it's Black Sabbath's only top 10 hit in the UK ever. Number 1 in Germany and Denmark. I mean, yeah, it's quite strange how a song that was just to fill the tape up.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought that, maybe that was the way they should have gone about writing this song.
I mean, if you look at the song, it's very fast. There's a pretty good guitar solo from Tony Iommi on it. I don't think it really a good indicator of the Black Sabbath sound.
No. I mean, given everything that you asked me to listen to, I would probably agree with that.
Mm-hmm. It's not slow or dirgy.
Yeah, and I would say that that's for the best, personally.
Yeah, that's your opinion, yeah.
I mean, there's in my opinion, there's a lot of tosh. There was so many that just didn't leave an impression at all. I mean, out of everything you got me to listen to, so you asked me to listen to what?
I think it's about 6 songs plus the album, right?
Yeah, something like that. No, it was 2 albums.
Did I?
Yeah.
I just gave you Paranoid.
I listened to the entirety of Black Sabbath as well.
Oh, did you? Oh, blow.
Okay. So yeah, I listened to 2 albums and then the individual songs that you asked me to.
Okay.
And out of all of them, I've written notes on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Some of them didn't leave an impression.
Some of them left an impression.
Not every song can be memorable, you know what I mean?
But to me, it's more of this kind of sound that I liked. The faster, less dirgy, as you said.
And that's a perfect lead into the next song.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't sound like Paranoid at all. Planet Caravan.
Caravan, yeah.
Planet Caravan. I've written, first of all, lovely song. It's rather lovely. Yes, I do like this one a lot. More laid back song. So we've had 3 songs already, which are completely different in tone. I think this one gets compared to Changes a lot. I think a lot of Black Sabbath fans don't like this one. It's a nice song to listen to on a nice hot summer day, and it's just lounging around
or when you're stoned out of your gourd.
That's it. Yep, perfect. Yep. Yep.
I've put. This is literally what I've written.
Yeah.
Metal. And then I've written trippy dude. Like this. Yeah. This is a stoner song in my opinion.
Yeah. So
or high on LSD or something.
The theory is, I mean, there was no such thing as heavy metal in 1970, and I think the term was even coined until the early 80s. So I think it's Black Sabbath setting out to be like a heavy metal band or anything like that. It's just what they stumbled upon more than anything. A lot of people could say they're just a hard rock band at the end of the day, just like you have a hard rock band from the early 70s. Tom Blood. It did get to number 26 in the UK.
They released it?
No. It was a cover. It covered by Pantera on Far Beyond Drift.
Right.
And got to number 26 in the UK in 1994.
Okay.
But no, they didn't release this.
I mean, that's pretty high for a song like that. No offense. I mean,
yeah, I think this song is more classic. I do
I
like it.
I classify it as classic rock. I literally, I don't think it's a genre of music, but High Off My Tits is basically the genre I see this as. It's not really a genre of music, but that's the best way to describe it for me.
Yeah, very different. They made the Greatest Hits album, so you know, a lot of people like it. A lot of people don't because it's not heavy. But,
yeah, I personally didn't, but
the next one I think you're going to like. Well, I know you like because you liked it.
Yeah.
Iron Man. So this is the first side of the album. You got War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, and Iron Man. 4 songs that have gone down as Sabbath classics.
So something I've actually written, I've just interjected, not about Iron Man, but I've just generally written down my thoughts as I was listening. It seems most of their hits were on this album. It feels like that this was.
This is the way I got you to listen to this one. This
feels like it was their magnum opus.
This is probably held up as the classic. Because of all these songs that people know.
And you think most bands, all right, well, most of their songs are spread out over a few different albums. It felt like they kind of nailed it with this album. And then everything else was kind of...
That's why a lot of the other albums are popular.
See, now I'm very much of the give me the hits kind of thing. Yeah, so I would very much be like, I'd get this album and then probably that's it. Or get the greatest hits and that'll be that. I'm a bit of a whore for the music industry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll get into this song now then. It starts with a throbbing. Would you say it's a throbbing bit, more like a heartbeat, or more like
it's a pounding,
like someone stepping, or
like
an Iron
Metal Man,
Metal Iron Man, maybe. The song is not about Iron Man.
Is it about the Iron Giant?
No.
It's not.
It's not about the superhero Iron Man.
No, I knew that.
The working title for this song was Iron Bloke.
Iron Geezer.
Yeah. Iron Geezer. Iron Geezer. I think Iron Man works better.
Yeah, somehow. It fits a lot more, yeah.
So that sound you hear when he goes, Iron. That grabs you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's very unique, sorry.
Yeah.
The unique sound that certainly grabs you as soon as you hear it. Apparently used as a ring modulator, apparently. It's the same apparatus used for the Daleks.
I obviously knew it wasn't for the superhero, the Marvel character. He was never really big enough to have anything like that. I always thought it was like the Iron Giant, the book, not the film, obviously, the original book that was written in like the 50s. I thought it was something to do with that, because that's something that we read a lot at school. So I thought maybe from the British curriculum it might have been like I remember reading that book when I was younger, because if you listen to the lyrics as well, it is very much like a I'm Iron Man, you know, I've come from outer space. I mean, nobody likes
sort
me.
Of like that in terms of like, Iron Man's just going to come down and trample the earth. That's basically what the song's about. As I said, it's gone to become one of Black Sabbath's most popular songs, and it was in the end credits of the original film.
Yeah, well, obviously it fits
with that, you know. So
now I will fill you in just at the moment. I
feel me in. Should we be singing that on the podcast?
I haven't noted much more on this album. A lot of it sounded very samey.
Yeah, I thought you were going
to... I found it quite difficult, especially when I wasn't looking at the list of it going through the songs. I found it quite difficult to find out where one song finished and another one started.
I get that. Electric Funeral uses the same effect that Iron Man does. The most metal song on the album, I would say. Or the most heaviest. It's about nuclear warfare. Nice.
Again, you can see a theme.
Yeah. They wanted to write songs about topics that people would be interested in.
So they were writing it for people still. They weren't... You see, a lot of musicians say they write the music for themselves. So you'd say that they were making it more for...
Both, yeah.
Okay.
Hand of Doom, which is one of my favourite songs of the album. 7 minutes and 8 seconds. Song about drug addictions in US soldiers from Vietnam. Another nice happy number. I do like this one a lot. A slow introduction, nice good guitar soloing. Rat Salad is pretty much a throwaway.
Now this I have actually written.
You've written something down.
Because to me, it reminded me a lot of Jessica by the Allman Brothers.
I haven't heard that.
No,
I might have heard that.
The Top Gear theme tune.
Oh, really? Okay. I've heard a lot of Allman Brothers stuff. Oh, yeah, I know you said it.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, and I was thinking, it's a very 70s kind of sound. Like maybe like a lot of bands were doing this kind of sound at that point, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I've written down here. Those of the band's musicianship.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Like a lot of bands are doing at the time. Led Zeppelin had a song on their second album called Moby Dick. And about a whale.
No,
it's also just instrumental. It's just John Bonham drumming,
just showing off their skills.
Yeah, showing off their skills. Yeah. Basically, that's what basically this. I don't know if this was a tour as well because it only goes like 2.
Yeah, I didn't go very long though,
but I think it probably could have done vocals.
I mean, like I said, to me,
it
just reminded me of another song, really, when I was listening to it. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but obviously it's got that very twangy kind of sound, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not a musician, so it's hard to describe the sounds, but it's the
70s sounding. Yeah. And then the final song is Fairies Wear Boots, which is about Ozzy Osbourne's encounter with skinheads in London getting beaten up.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that's not really a problem we've really gotten away from either, is it? So, well, that in the 70s is still a problem now, where people beat people up just for being different.
So you said you listened to the whole of Black Sabbath album. Sorry, I must have confused you.
I did. I listened to the whole of Black Sabbath. Yeah, I think it's because you said Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on Black Sabbath, and I was just confused. Yeah. But I did end up listening to the whole thing. I didn't really make any notes about it, to be honest with you. I don't think it left that much of an impression.
Before we start, sorry.
Yeah.
So Paranoid as a whole, you like the first half?
Yeah, obviously, most of the big songs are on here.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of the songs that I know about Black Sabbath, with regard, taking out one that we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I mean, so this album was probably the one I like the most out of what you asked me to listen to. It's got pretty much all the songs that are on my playlist in it. But yeah, the first half, with the exception of Planet Caravan, is obviously something I really enjoyed. The second half, like I said, it kind of all blended into one a little bit for me, apart from Rat Salad, which was the only one that stuck out. Like I said, it's the only one I really made a note on.
So what notes do you have on the Black Sabbath album?
Pardon?
What notes do you have on the Black Sabbath album?
Literally, I put, not really a fan.
Go on.
Again, it was very much like the second half of Paranoid. It all sounded very similar to me. The only thing I put in though is that it had a very bluesy kind of feel to me. Like you could tell where the blues influence came from a little bit in that. But overall, yeah, I'm guessing pretty unmemorable. If literally I just wrote not a fan.
Yeah, as I said, we kind of covered this before, but there was no such thing as heavy metal at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Just a band trying to sound like a hard rock band, just trying to sound like that.
Yeah,
just the bands of Tony Iommi's hard tone or whatever, but they just ended up sounding heavier than those bands, and more evil sounding.
Evil.
There's not been any particular tracks that stood out then?
No, nothing. Literally, I don't...
Not even the first song?
What, Black Sabbath?
Yeah.
Not really, no. It didn't really... Nothing really struck a tone with me on that album. And again, it was very hard to pick out individual songs. I literally thought I was listening to another song at one point and realised that the song that I was listening to was like 11 minutes long or something like that.
Right. That would be...
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, this is still the same song, so I was like, right, okay, I should have written down this song is fucking long, to be honest with you, but
kind of, I don't say I'm disappointed, but the first song on the album Black Sabbath, on the album Black Sabbath, I think sets the tone straight away for what kind of band this is going to be, and this is the lyrics. You've got the bell tolling, and then you've got the guitar, and it sounds like Ozzy Osbourne in Hell or something like that. It's a very scary sounding song.
It obviously didn't make that big an impression on me.
So right away they were talking about themes like the devil, and they're still trying to figure out what kind of band they are on this album. There's a cover of Evil Woman, there's a cover of Warning. So it's not. I think it's a good album, but it's not.
The Green Day song.
Oh yeah, not that one. No. That came out a long time after this. So no.
Yeah, literally all I put was it's
but very, your observation that it sounds very bluesy.
Very bluesy. Yeah.
That's a good observation.
You could see that there was a lot of blues influence. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of blues influence in rock, anyway.
Absolutely.
And then obviously, if they're just moving rock, really, I mean, metal is a form of rock, isn't it?
People would have been listening to.
So yeah, you can see that the influence comes in there. I just literally just thought this is very bluesy, but
bands have been listening to that in like the early 60s.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the exciting music.
It was a big influence on a lot of bands around that era, and I mean that's basically the roots of rock come from the blues movement as well, don't they? So yeah, that was my main observation on that one, but overall, pretty unmemorable, to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, pretty much all of the songs that I knew were on Paranoid, so when I heard that, I was just like, yeah, okay, I get this. It was a little bit more of an easy introduction because
that's cool.
Yeah. But sorry man, it didn't click with me,
Move on to a very divisive song in the Black Sabbath catalogue coming up next.
Okay.
From Volume 4, is the fourth album, funnily enough.
Mm-hmm.
The band wanted to call Volume 4 Snowblind.
Okay.
After one of the songs of the album called Snowblind.
Uh-huh.
But the label thought it sounded too much like Drugs.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And this is known as their Drugs album, pretty much.
Ah, really? Well, okay.
Yeah, because they're all drugs by the barrel load at this point.
Okay.
Hence why they called the song Snowblind.
Right.
But on this album, which is has a lot of heavy songs on it, there's a song called Changes.
I'm going through changes. I'm going through changes.
Which is very different to Black Sabbath songs. Starts with the lyrics, I feel unhappy, I feel so sad. Rather emo-ish.
Yeah.
For a band like Black Sabbath. There's nothing in way of guitar on this song, it's just piano.
Mm-hmm.
The piano and the keyboard. Inspired by Bill Ward's breakup with his first wife. Very difficult kind of song for Black Sabbath. What did you think? You've heard the song before.
Yeah, I mean, I know this song, obviously. I knew it. I knew the original. I knew the remake. I knew the covers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really like this song, personally. I think it's a good song. I think you can hear the emotion behind it. I think guitars and drums and everything like that would probably ruin it. I think it is a very lonely song, isn't it? It's a song that someone writes when they're very sad, in a very sad, painful place. And if you say that they're on a ton of drugs at this point as well, that's obviously going to make you even more emotional when shit goes wrong. I think anything else would kind of ruin it. I mean, I've heard blues versions of it as well, like with harmonicas and stuff like that, and I think that works quite well. But yeah, I think if you rock it up too much, it's just going to sound silly, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get your point.
I mean, I get why people who are fans of, you know, the hard songs would be like, oh god, another emotional song. But yeah, I mean, he obviously had something he wanted to say, and this was the only way that he could do it. And I think, yeah, you can see someone sitting on their own, contemplating what's going on in their life. Yeah,
kind of surprised it wasn't a big hit.
I think maybe if it came like a couple of years later, towards the end of the 70s, and perhaps it's like, just going off topic a little bit, but it's like the Beatles. So everyone talks about Dr. Pepper's Super Awesome Club Band.
That's exactly the title. As
being like one of their greatest ever albums. Yeah. I hate it. I think it's awful, and I think it's shockingly bad. But a lot of people like it, and I think that's because it came so long after their initial success that they had the chance to evolve into something slightly different, and people would still accept it. Whereas I think, yeah, you say they released their first one in, 1970?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. You haven't really earned the right to be experimental and everything yet, so I get why hardcore fans would necessarily feel like that. Or am I just completely off base here?
Lucy and Sky of Diamonds is great.
I personally hate that song. But it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just, I don't know what it is. Again, we're not here to debate the Beatles, but I find that album really, it's very drug-fueled. You can obviously see it's very drug-fueled. And, you know, all the bullshit about, no, it wasn't, it was my daughter. She drew a picture of a girl in the sky with diamonds. Fuck off. You're writing about LSD. Come on, we know you're writing about LSD.
I don't know, it sounds like a very convincing.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just, I think you're too willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm undecided, to be honest.
But anyway, I just, I
like the impression, though. Spot on.
John, they've stolen my drums. Sorry, go on, yeah.
On my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I said it wasn't a big hit at the time. However, it was really re-released in the UK in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
For what reason? Obviously,
he duetted with his daughter.
Duetted with his daughter Kelly because of the success of
the Osbournes.
Yeah. Big party at the time, and it went to number one. Okay.
Uh-huh. I think that was probably more off the back of the success of the TV show, rather than the actual song.
Yeah, not just because Kelly Osbourne was on the track with him.
Yeah. I think it was more like, oh my god, the Osbournes have released a song. You know, people who had, like me, who had no idea that he was actually a member of a band, and why the fuck are you famous? You know, kind of thing. People were like, oh my god, they released a song. Oh, it's actually really good.
That's how big the Osbournes.
Yeah, they were massive at the time, weren't they? Yeah, so
parodied on Post Selector.
Yeah, as well as John Lennon, Schmickles. Sorry.
Yes. Anyway, so for the record, I like Changes. I think it's a good song.
Yeah, I do too. I think that there's a lot more emotional depth to it than people give it credit for. You know, like I said, you could have rocked it all up and everything, but I don't think it would have really had the same effect otherwise. You know,
I've only got 2 more songs written down.
Mm-hmm.
Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. That's a very Subtle title.
Yeah.
As well, off the album, so of Bloody Sabbath.
You see right through these starry eyes, you know you have to learn the execution of your mind. You really have to turn.
They love their name, don't they?
What did you think of this song?
I've never heard this song before. This was one of the songs that I hadn't heard. I really liked it. And I added it to my playlist.
Good.
Because I actually enjoyed it.
I'm really happy to hear that because it's one of my favourites. I love it. Why did you like this song, Rick?
To me, it fell more in line with what I like rock music to be. You know, it was a little bit faster. It had a little bit more oomph behind it. It didn't drag on and on and on for like 15, 20 minutes, you know, Stairway to Heaven style and stuff like that. It was pretty punchy. I didn't feel like I needed to be stoned in order to enjoy it, which I find a lot with like rock artists in this period. It's very much written for people who are smoking weed at the same time as well, it feels like. As well as a lot of Black Sabbath stuff, I thought that this was written for people who are getting high, pretty much, it felt like. But yeah, this song, it just fit in to my neat little box of what I like. And thank you for introducing it to me.
Okay. What I like about this song is a lot of variety. The opening riff at the start is very slow. You get the nice arrangements, and then it ends with quite a heavy riff at the end.
Yeah, I like the riff, I must admit. I do like a good riff. Yeah.
So there's a lot of variety in this song. At the time, Tony Iommi was suffering from writer's block. The song came along.
Right. So he was the main guy that wrote the music then?
The music.
Because there's been a few that you've said that he had the influence in this. So it's more... Would you say he's more the creative behind the scenes, or is it more of a collaborative effort? Or I mean, you obviously don't know what's going on in
terms of the music itself, yes, but obviously the songs are written by.
Okay.
Apparently, the riff at the start of the song was credited as the riff that saved the band. Oh. Just because Tony Iommi was, as I said, suffering from writer's block, he wasn't doing everything was going at that point.
Right.
There you go. But yeah, it's one of my favourite songs. It stuck out to me very early when I heard it on the Greatest Hits for the first time. I'm glad you liked it as well.
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was, very enjoyable. And yeah, I added it to my playlist, like I said, so I'll be listening to it a lot more from now on. And yeah, quite surprising that it's not one that I've heard of before, to be honest with you. But I don't know how it goes down with fans of the band or anything like that. I don't know.
Very well.
It does, yeah? Okay. Yeah. So why is it not so big then? To me, it sounded, you could easily put that alongside Iron Man, Paranoid as a great song, you know.
I mean, it is a popular song for them, but I don't think it's not as well known as.
Yeah, it seems strange to me that, I'd never heard it before. And it was, you could easily see that on like a Greatest Hits.
Mm-hmm. It is on the Greatest Hits.
Well, rightly so as well.
The one I own anyway.
But yeah, I'm surprised that it's not more popular, to be honest with you.
Okie doke. So the final song I've got written down is Symptom of the Universe. This one is very heavy.
Yeah, not such a big fan of this one.
No,
not. I don't dislike it, but it's not quite. If it was on, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know the song, but I wouldn't really put it on my playlist, for instance. I put down here. It reminds me a lot of Breaking the Law. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty heavy opening riff. Yeah, it's the early signs of come after in terms of how heavy metal would become. So yeah, the band was really pissed off with their management at the time. They're being sued by their management because they were unhappy that they weren't making as much money as they thought they should be.
Right.
So they made it heavier intentionally just because they were pissed off.
Right. Okay. Was that like we don't want this to sell so well, or we're just annoyed?
They're just more annoyed than
right. Okay.
about being sued by the management.
Because like a lot of the time when like musicians go off in like a different direction, it's kind of like I don't really care if this sells or not. I want my record label to drop me so that I can go off with someone else.
Yeah, so this is, as I said, pretty much the heaviest thing they've recorded up to this point, possibly ever.
I mean, I wouldn't really describe this as that heavy.
But at the start it is.
Yeah, but
as it goes on, it's not.
I would, for instance, say Iron Man is a lot heavier than this.
Yeah, it's not as fast.
No, but when I think of heavy, I think more of like the...
slower.
Not slow, but like deeper, you know? Like... Yeah. Is you know, it feels heavier than Symptom of the Universe did. Symptom of the Universe felt more thrashy. Not.
That's what I'm saying. It's heavier. Yeah,
yeah, but
heavy is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I guess it's all.
I mean, Black Sabbath did a lot of songs that were slow, dirgy, but sounded very heavy.
I guess it depends what you define as heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's saying. Yeah. So that's it for Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about the experience overall?
Well, again, I knew a lot of the stuff on the Paranoid anyway. It was interesting, to say the least. I mean, I've discovered one new song out of it, which I'm quite happy with, to be honest with you, but it's not really opened my eyes to them, if that makes sense. You know, it's not like wow, they had way more decent songs than I thought they did. Like I said, I only found one. Mm-hmm. It's good to find a new one, which is good, but it didn't really feel like I was being sheltered from the awesomeness of Black Sabbath for all these years. You know, to me, it's very much a group and a band that you really need to be into this type of music to really get behind. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be honest with you. It was a lot more, like I said, it's not a genre, but it was a lot more listen to this when you're high kind of than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting a lot more thrash, to be honest with you. Like, Symptom of the Universe was a lot more...
I mean, that's why they get credited with creating stoner metal.
Mm-hmm.
So, sounds like that. As you said, it sounds like the kind of music you'll want to listen to when you're high.
Yeah, it did to me. I could very much see, you know, people sitting there with their big headphones on, you know, rolling up and stuff like that. That's what it sounded more like to me, which is very derogatory. I shouldn't really say that, you know, because it's like, well, that's kind of derogatory towards the band, personally. You're like, oh, so that's all we're good for. No, not at all. It's also derogatory towards people that decide that they want to smoke. That's their prerogative and they can do what they want to do. It's completely up to them. So it's a little bit insulting, but I can't think of another way to explain it, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's that insulting, to be honest. I think a lot of people have done that. It's just the kind of music they sound like, really. Would you check out more?
That's a tough question.
Because you listen to the first two albums.
Yeah. But out of those two albums, there's maybe 4 songs that I enjoyed. And like I said, on Black Sabbath, I didn't discover anything new. That was very much like is this finished yet kind of thing. And it's like, what? I'm only on the 5th track. Oh my God, Jesus, how long are these songs? You know, kind of thing. But having said that, it feels like there could be a few more nuggets in there that I haven't come across.
Oh, yes.
So it's like, it's the question of how much gold do I want to dig for compared to how much gold can I be asked to dig for?
Yes.
You know, it's tough.
Okay.
Tough question. I can't definitively say yes, and I don't want to definitively say no.
Okay, that's not a bad thing. That's fine. So, where do we go from here? So, generally with Black Sabbath, first 6 albums are regarded as classics.
Can I ask what kind of time frame that was over?
So that would be 1970 to start with, and Sabotage was released in...
That's by the...
1975, so that's 5-year period.
5-year period. That's a very small window to release that many albums. That's more than an album a year.
That's 6 albums in 5 Yes. But that's what bands would like back then. They're prolific.
No wonder the guy was going through writer's block. Jesus, you're pumping out that much music in that short a time.
Yeah.
You're going to burn through all of it. Wow. I'm surprised he lasted that long. Good for him.
So the first 6 albums, as I said, are credited with, well, they're seen as classics, really, amongst the metal community.
Mm-hmm.
Master Reality, the third album, is credited for creating stoner metal and doom metal and all that slower sort of metal. That's
which I didn't really enjoy on from these albums, I must admit.
Yeah, so that one's very slow. I would maybe check out, as I said, Sweet Leaf, pick that one out, and Children of the Grave.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably the main two. Volume 4 is, as I said, the Coke album. I don't really need to go into that one too much. Snowblind and Supernaut were pretty good. If you like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, you might like the rest of the album.
Okay.
Maybe. Megalomania you might like.
I've heard that word. I've heard that one.
Yeah, Spiral Architect I think you'll like as well. That's quite different. Very theatrical song. And then Sabotage with...
Beastie Boys.
Oh, the Beastie Boys, yeah. Sabotage with Sense of the Universe. My mind has gone completely blank. What else is on that album? Killing Yourself to Live on that one? Up in the Sky. Oh, no, it's not. Killing Yourself to Live. It must be on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Yeah, so definitely check out Hole in the Sky on Megalomania. Oh, Megalomania goes to nearly 10 minutes. I still think it's good.
I don't have a problem with long songs. It's long songs that just drone on and on and on.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, like Purple Rain, for instance, is a fantastic song.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
The fact that it goes on so long, it's just for like 10 minutes.
I do like the song.
Yeah, but it didn't need to go on that long.
I think it made a cut a minute or so off at the end, maybe.
Yeah. 2.
Maybe 2. Yeah.
Considering all these
got a minute of. No, I like that.
For like 10 minutes, it's like, all right, we get the point, you know. But still, fantastic song.
Absolutely. So, as I said, if you're interested to get Black Sabbath, first 6 albums are pretty much a good place to start. They're all great.
How many do they have?
19 in total.
That's a musician, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah. 19 and 52 years, though.
Yeah. But it feels like a lot of them were very crammed in the beginning.
Crammed into the 70s. So they released 2 albums after those first 6, which were not as greatly received. And then Ozzy would leave in 1979 to go solo.
Right, yeah.
It became pretty successful as a solo artist in the 80s. So can't really...
Only one I know of is Crazy Train, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I think's a great song, but...
Yeah, but I said, he would become pretty successful as a solo artist, so it was a good decision, really. Black Sabbath would move on to a new singer in 1980, Ronnie James Dio.
From Dio?
But he didn't have a solo act at that point.
No, but
he was singing for Rainbow before then, so that would have been late 70s, and then he became the replacement for Ozzy in 1980.
That's the Rainbow, right? Since You've Been Gone, Rainbow.
That one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But he didn't sing on that song.
No, I was
all very complicated.
He didn't sound like that. Yeah,
it's all very complicated, Richard. So when they recorded that song, Dio was in
Black Sabbath.
Yes,
and then after Black Sabbath, he went solo. Or?
That's right. Yeah. Right, okay. So he recorded 2 albums with Black Sabbath in the early 80s, Heaven and Hell in 1980 and Mob Rules in 1981.
Right.
Both pretty well received and held up with the early Black Sabbath.
Okay.
Album. So yeah, pretty well thought of in the metal community, really.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie James Dio, great vocalist, and as you said, he left Sabbath quickly thereafter and had his own solo career, which again was pretty successful. Yeah, Holy Diver and all that. Yeah, we'll be getting more into that later on in this experiment. As I said, they've had 19 albums since then. They've had other lead singers. After Dio left, they had Ian Gillan from Deep Purple.
Right.
And Tony Martin as well. Dio would come back in the early 90s to a couple of albums. Ben Ozzy would return in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't do... They've released so many albums. But they wouldn't do another album from him until 2013, how you prefer to say it. The imaginatively titled 13, 2013.
It's very confusing if it's your 19th album.
Exactly now, yeah. Their 13th album was The Eternal Idol in 1987.
Okay.
But just because it was 2013.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it, yeah.
That was the last album they released, and that went to number 1 in the UK, proving that after 40-odd years, they were still as popular as ever. But benefit of podcast listeners, I'm wearing a full t-shirt from that tour in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the Las Vegas show. Oh. Yeah, so it was very cool to see Ozzy live and Black Sabbath live.
How did he sound?
Pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty good, and quite a showman live as well. He probably gets the crowd into it, gets them warmed up and talks to the crowd and stuff, you know. A lot of bands don't do that, just play the songs and bugger off. But yeah, he was pretty cool, you know.
I'm here to get my money. That's it.
Yeah, and he was pretty cool to the fans and whatever else. And that's about it for Black Sabbath. That's a brief history all the way through. And that's a starting point for this podcast. We're moving on to other bands which started off the metal genre in coming weeks, and then more and more bands as we go on. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.
I was talking to the audience.
Oh, fine, whatever.
But yeah, thank you for listening, Richard, to Black Sabbath and taking part.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so join us whenever we get around to doing.
Yeah, we're all a bit all over the place with this.
Yes.
We're not really on a schedule, are we? Problem with having jobs and stuff, I guess, isn't it? So, But yeah, we'll I can't say it'll be released once a week because it might be every 2 weeks. I'm not sure. It all depends. But yeah, we'll get around to doing another one. So, but until then,
rock on.
Nice.
Thank you everybody for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Then check out the video suggested for you or watch this playlist to discover more from the channel. This has been a Rich T Entertainment production.